All right, so now we're going to look at graphing polynomial functions. So this is now syllabus topic 2.5. So I've got a factored polynomial. This is going to be a cubic. I can see that my a value is positive. That implies my cubic is going to have this end behavior. As x goes to negative infinity, y will go to negative infinity. As x goes to infinity, y will go to infinity. And I also know my roots. So my roots are going to be -2, +1, and +3. When x equals 0, my y value is going to be 2 times -1 times -3, which will give me +6. So knowing this behavior, you might be tempted to come up and make this your maximum or your local maximum. However, that's not necessarily true. So I'm going to also check out my value when x is -1. Then my y value is going to be 1 times -2 times -4. That's going to give me +8. So I know that this is not my local max. I could also plug in 2 to see around roughly where I turn around down here. So when x is equal to 2, move this up here, my y value is going to be 4 times 1 times -1, so I'll get -4. And using those, I can make a nicer cubic. Try and make it smooth. It's a little bit hard for me on this, but hopefully you can do a better job than I do. What needs to be clear, though, is our shape, our y-intercept, and our x-intercepts. In this case, again, I have a cubic, but this time my root of -1 is repeated. Again, my a value is positive, so again I have this general shape. In this situation, though, my root at -1 is going to repeat, which means I'm going to bounce off of this root and look sort of like a parabola. I could also figure out my y-intercept. So when x is 0, my y value is going to be -2. I could also plug in x equals 1. I'll get 2 squared is 4 times -1 is -4, so I know it keeps going down before it turns around. So I'm going to look something like this. And notice, I don't actually know if this is fully my minimum. Maybe it keeps going past that a bit more before it turns up. But for sure, this is not my minimum. For sure, this is a local maximum because of my x squared. In this one, I can factor out x minus 1 cubed, leaving me behind x minus 1 minus 4. So that's going to give me x minus 1 cubed times x minus 5. Notice I want factored form so that I know where my x and y intercepts are. Sorry, where my x-intercepts are. My y-intercept is going to be up at +5. So I'm counting by ones here, which is a pity that this isn't a bit lower because my +5 will be up here somewhere. When I go through x equals 1, I'm going to pass through that having the shape of a cubic. This is going to have the power of x to the 4th with a positive a value. So my shape is going to look something like this. So I'll come from above. When I get to 1, coming from above, it will flatten out a bit to look like a cubic. And then I'll come up through 5. So this is 3 of my roots, and this is 1 root, making a total of x to the 4th. So somewhere in between 1 and 5, I'll reach my minimum value. Between 1 and 5 exactly is 3, so I'm going to test that one out. When x is equal to 3, my y value is going to be 2 cubed times, what are we going to get here? -2. So that's like 2 to the 4th. So when x is equal to 3, I'm going to get -16. 2, 3. And I could see what happens when x is 4 as well. If x is 4, then I'm going to get 3 cubed times negative 1. So my y value will then be negative 27. So I know this is going to come all the way down here. So this is a case where my minimum isn't exactly in between. I'm going to shoot back up really quickly there. And then again, I'm looking cubic as I pass through 1, trying to make sure that my y-intercept is clearly 5. So 5, passing through, making it look a bit cubic. Let's look at Desmos and see what that actually looks like a bit better. Oh, goodness. Okay. So our original was y equals x minus 1 to the 4th minus, what did we have, 4 x minus 1 cubed. And so notice, here's where it looks cubic, and then if I zoom out, make my y go down to negative 30. And sorry, negative 30. And we can go positive 10. So I go through 5. Oh, sorry, yes, I go through 5. I look cubic at 1. I shoot back up to come back to 5.